Welcome to Insecure Faith Meets Joy and Freedom with your host, Shanika G. I'm so glad you're here. Are you ready? Let's go. My name is Shanika Grant, and I was born in the big city of Springfield, South Carolina. If you know, you know, okay? But from that, I was blessed to be able to be born to the incredible parents of Treese and Gregory Barnes. My dad is no longer here, and I just know that he is super proud of me, my brother, my mama, all that good stuff. Anyway, and so after that, I came to college, USC Aiken, where I met the most amazing man, Jacoby Grant. We've been married 12 years. Y'all, we just celebrated 12 years on Sunday. Okay. My man.
Yes.
And from that, like, God has blessed us to be able to steward two little beautiful girls, Braylon Joy and Brianna Grace. And so I'm thankful for that. And in that, and as my role of all the other things that I do, I'm a licensed clinician and I am also a coach. And I got to this space just realizing a lot of times in therapy, I realized a lot of the ladies that I work with were actually dealing with a lot of situational things as it related to like fear and rejection and insecurity and all that stuff, right? And so I'm like, yes, this therapy, of course, it is needed. It is absolutely something that a lot of people need. But in those cases where I was meeting with those women, it wasn't more so of needing the therapy, but more so of the side of coaching. And so I felt the Lord speaking. And so when he speaks, you got to listen. And so that has gotten me to this space of just being able to share from a different way, in a different capacity. And so I'm just excited to be able to navigate this new space. And so I also want to introduce in this moment my girl, Katrina Littles, the purpose pusher. Okay. Before you introduce yourself and you give a little bit about yourself, I just want to say me and Katrina actually went to USC Aiken together. And we did not necessarily, we weren't like always hanging out together, but whenever we saw each other, like it was all good. Like we talked, we laughed, we did those things. And so I think it's just a beautiful moment that God has like brought us back together in this space. Like we went from knucking and bucking in the club to knocking and bucking for the Lord and making kingdom impact, right?
Church.
At the same church. How about that? Like our babies go to the same school. Like it's just like God knew what he was doing. He's just so intentional. And so I'm excited about where we're going, this new relationship that we're building. And so I'm going to throw it to her and let her introduce herself now. Go ahead, girl.
Hey, girl. Hey. Okay, so that is so funny how God spent the block on us, right? Going from college, live in the same city, kids go to the same school, we go to the same church. Wow, wow, wow. So I'm Katrina Littles. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I like to call myself a creative, okay? And a content creator, a teacher, and I'm your purpose pusher. I'm your purpose pusher. I'm actually a certified life coach and mentor. I don't really announce that because I use the term purpose pusher. And so I'm just excited to be here. My main passion and my assignment is to help women rediscover their identity, help them with their confidence, and push them into their purpose, ultimately so that they can know they are the masterpiece and God's master plan. So that's the business, that's the ministry. It's called Masterpiece with a capital D, so that you can know, according to Ephesians 2:10, that God already pre-planned your destiny, okay? So I'm excited to be here with my good fit. And that's just what it is.
Yo! God is so intentional. Why did I write that down? Like I literally have Ephesians 2:10 written down to share with the people later. Like
me.
They ain't even ready, but they ready. Yes. I'm so he's so good like that. He's so the details. It's the details for me. All right, y'all. So we're gonna keep it moving. As I said before, I am trying to stream both on Instagram and Facebook. So I'm gonna be here and there just want to let you know what it is, okay? But this conversation tonight is super important. It's super important as we talk about overcoming fear and insecurity, and just what that looks like, where it stems from, and just some practical ways, that we can walk through this thing of continuously overcoming it as we go through this journey of where God is leading us. And your girl love a good story time, so it's story time for me. Okay?
I love story time.
So a little bit about, or one, I think, I don't want to say defining, but it was a moment that kind of stuck with me for a little while. I remember being about 7 or 8 years old, right? And I was at church, my home church. Shout out to Samaria Baptist Church. But my grandmother was on the usher board. My mom's mom was on the usher board. And one thing you knew about Mary Catherine was she was going to hold the back door down. Like if she wanted to go out in the front and do the front, she'd do that because who's going to stop her? But the back door was her door. Everybody knew that was Mary's door. And I loved being around her. I loved to that was just my girl. And so I remember being back there with her one time and just talking. And if you know me, you know I love to talk. And I had this one cousin that walked up to me, not one of my first cousins. None of them have ever, said anything like that to kind of hurt me like that. But he said to me, "What's wrong with your voice? Why you sound like that? Why is it raspy? Why is it hoarse?" And I was like, mind you, I'm 7 or 8 years old. Like, what do you mean what's wrong with my voice? I thought it was normal. I thought I had a normal voice, but apparently it wasn't so normal. And I remember in that moment I was just like, I got quiet. Like for a moment it shut your girl down. And what I'm thankful for most, I believe, is that God protected my mind even in that moment. Like he wrapped his arms around me in a way that I did not feel like the brunt of that force of it really could have been like a place that stifled me from using my voice, right? And I can attest to that, and I can say that that is the truth because from elementary to middle school to high school, every report card I had always said, "Shanika is brilliant, she's smart, she's a great student, ... but she talks too much." So even though in that moment, like it kind of made me ask the question, like, well, what was really wrong with my voice? It also was just a reminder from the Lord, like that I still didn't get stuck in that. Like I still talked, I still said what I needed to say. I did all those things, right? And so it just shows just how much God is constantly in the details. He's constantly protecting our minds. He's constantly helping us walk through things that could have taken us out or could have, made us stuck, stalled, or stunned, but he didn't. He showed up for me in that way, even at 7 or 8 years old. So that was one of those moments that I think kind of like stuck with me throughout the years, because I would remember just at times, like even talking to other girls or other guys and just wondering in my head, like, do I sound weird? Do I sound like a guy? Does my voice sound raspy? Like all of those moments, would happen at different times in my life. And I even remember asking my husband now, like, does my voice sound funny? Does it sound weird? And of course, he always affirms me and let me know, like, no, you sound like Shanika. You sound good. You're fine. But just understanding, like, not allowing that to grip me to not being able to do what it is that God has called me to do. And so that is just kind of like a start to that story about just continuing to kind of like keep going among the comments, among the things that people don't necessarily understand about you. And so now I'm gonna toss it to you, Katrina. Let's hear from you. I want to hear a good story and how that, played out in your life, or how you kind of got through that too.
That is so good. And it's almost the opposite, because I hear that you said it kind of kept you going and talking. And for me, throughout the years, I shrunk more and more. But so let me back up. So I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and I moved down here fifth grade. And so, of course, when I came, I had a northern accent. And so the kids made fun of me and they teased me. And so I thought it was something wrong with me. All right, so then I grew up in a town called Jasper County. So it's Gullah Geechee. So, we have the broken English, just different things. So now I talk like that. So when I came to USC-Aiken, then they started saying, where y'all from? Y'all from Charleston. And so it was always this constant thing of how I talk, whether it was too northern and now it's too Geechee and so with that, I always questioned myself, and I didn't want to speak up in boardrooms. I didn't want to do public speaking. So it made me shrink because in the back of my mind, I kept replaying, okay, they said I sound like this, and now they say I sound like that. And it's so many different stories. And now I'm here. Just last year when I started doing Clubhouse, a few people would tell me, I love your voice. And I'm like, who voice? I just love your person. Oh, and so it gave me more confidence. And I was like, you know what? God gave me this voice, and the people that's for me, they gonna get something out of this. And so I had to change my mind and stop focusing on, how I talk, how some people may not like it, how I might sound. I just have to show up regardless. And so that's how I kind of overcame it. But it took some years. I actually went into a shell. And so I know we'll probably talk about that more, but yeah.
And that's the thing. And I think a lot of times that is a thing that happens to so many people. And I think, with that, it's also the idea that others are not confident in themselves. And so in doing that, they push that off on you. They project it onto you, right? And so one thing I want people to understand is that, like, when using your voice, like, it's not just your voice, like, it's also a compilation of your thoughts, your ideas, your emotions, like, all of that is included when it relates to using your voice. And before we, keep going, I think what's important for us to also understand is, like, defining fear and insecurity, and how it kind of all wraps up into like using your voice. I always like to give definitions because I think with the English language and the way that people interpret things, or the way that we interchange words so often, sometimes we think that we're using the correct word for something, and you're like, oh, that's not really what it is. And so I find it really beneficial to make sure you do a quick Google search. Okay, the Merriam-Webster is right there on Google. Do your Google searches, okay? But to understand, like, fear and insecurity, the definition for insecurity, it says it's a state or feeling of anxiety, fear, or self-doubt. Whereas the definition for fear is described as to be afraid of or to expect with alarm, right? And so we know that with fear and insecurity, it doesn't always just pop up on us, right? Like, it stems from something. It could be childhood experiences. That was my case. Or, hearing over and over again negative words from family or friends or teachers or older adults or even strangers that you don't even know like that, right? They stick with you over the years. And it can go from, those different stages as an adult, or even things that you experience as an adult, whether it's in the boardroom, whether it's at your teacher's school, whether you're in a space with a group of women, and because they may have a space or have a thought where they're insecure about what they bring to the table or whatever, like I said, kind of project that onto you, and that's not necessarily your story, but it becomes your story because you hear it, you ruminate on it, right? And you're like, is it really like that? Do I really sound like that? And then you start to, like, pinpoint and like go through every single thing that you've said, everything that you've done, every time you walk into a room, whatever the case is. Like, you start to really become insecure in that, and you're like, do I have the right clothes on today? Do I have the right earrings? Is this the right color hair? Should I change my lipstick? Do I have the right color earrings on? Like, all of these things start to happen because you're dealing with the insecurity and the fear behind that, right? And so it all goes back to just still being able to come from a place of opening your mouth and walking in power anyway to reveal the very thing that's specific for me and that's meant for you to reveal. Because whether, like I said, if it's in the classroom, if it's in a board meeting, if it's a business owner, if you're showing up as CEO, if you're a teacher, you're a mom, your wife, daughter, like all of these different roles, and they all can look different, but there's still the importance of understanding that you still have to open up your mouth in some capacity in those roles, right? And so the key here is to continue to push through anyway. And so one thing that I definitely wanted to hit on, and you can jump into, Katrina, when it relates to this, is like constantly overcoming fear, because our flesh is very unsure and it wants to do what is comfortable and what doesn't necessarily require stepping out in faith. Right? It loves the knowing and being in charge and doing what it wants and not having to listen to anybody but itself. But when you decide to like listen to Holy Spirit and instead of your flesh, you start feeling that like that quickening in your heart, like, uh-oh, what's that? I don't know if I can do that, Lord. I don't know. But I came here to say, baby, all you got to do is say, shut up, flesh. Yeah, just like that, y'all, just like that. Shut up, flesh. God's speaking to me right now. I gotta obey. I gotta obey. Shut up. Shut up. But when you do that and when you acknowledge that, like, you are remembering that you aren't working out of your own strength, like you're able to let God know that fear is rising. I don't know if I can say this, Lord. I need you. And when you do that, you release it and you're allowing him to let him show up and be God for you. So anything else you would like to add to that, Katrina?
So I can resonate with that too, because sometimes I have to tell myself to shut up, like hush. And the thing about it is, if you don't kill it immediately, it is going to run rapid in your mind. It's going to have a full play day, okay, in your mind. So you have to kill it quickly. And now I'm conscious of it. So when it starts to happen, I'm like, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We are not doing this, because the flesh will act up. And if you don't get the flesh in order, listen, you're not going to be able to be obedient. And another thing that something that I teach is something that I had to go through is identifying when that little girl inside of you is speaking louder than what she needs to speak. And in order to silence her, you have to put her through a healing journey. So for me, the reason why the fear and the insecurity and the lack of confidence was so loud was because there was a broken little girl inside. Every now and then she tries to pop back up and I gotta punch her down. But what I'm saying is a lot of women are dealing with a broken little girl. You mentioned trauma, your experiences, childhood, all these things, listening to people and the negative comments, all these things. And it created a girl who either she shrunk, she silenced her voice, she went in the corner to hide. You know, you didn't want to show up anymore because you're afraid what people are going to say. You didn't walk with confidence because the little girl, or there are some, the little girl causes them to lash out. So you see some people popping off on social media and it's just hurt. And it's all these things that they went through. And so if we can just heal the little girl, then you'll be able to show up with more confidence. You know, you can kill the flesh. You can tell fear you have to go. And so, yeah, I agree. You have to kill that flesh.
You got to kill it. It can't stay here. Nah, not in this season. Not where the Lord has us walking. It can't. And so even to put that in like biblical viewpoint, I was reading the other day, Esther, and I was only going to read chapter 4, and then I was like, well, wait, I got to know what happened right here. Why Mordecai, like, what he telling her this? Like, why he wearing these raggedy clothes in front of the gate? Like, I need to know the whole story. I'm going to need all the stuff. So I journeyed back to chapter 1. And from chapter 1 to chapter 10, what I understood, and I took some little notes, so I'm going to pull those up real quick, because that thing got good, girl. It got good. Okay, so one thing that I got from this was the importance of understanding when to keep quiet and when to speak up. Okay? So when the thing was happening with, I can't remember his name, but he wanted to basically take out all the Jews because Mordecai would not bow to him because the king had made this guy like the highest noble or whatever. Y'all go back and read it. It's in Ezra. But my point is he was going to take out all the Jews. But Queen Esther had won over the king. And so she pretty much could get whatever she wanted out of him. And so Mordecai had ended up getting a message to her that this was going to happen to her people. And he let her know, like, if you don't speak up, like, it's still going to get done, but it could still wipe out like you and, you know, everybody else connected to you. So what that did for me was that, one, in Esther 4:9, she had fear. She was like, well, I hadn't been in his presence for like 30 days. Like, it's been over time. And so anybody that goes to him when he hasn't summoned for them, basically, like, that's it. Like, he gonna take them out unless he, you know, points the gold scepter at him and he's like, okay, you're welcome in and all that good stuff. And so that's when Mordecai basically told her, like, look, you gotta do this. You gotta do this for not just yourself to protect yourself, but your people too. And one thing that was very clear to me is that sometimes those connected to you are affected directly or indirectly, even, or, you know, if you decide to open your mouth, or even if you don't decide to open your mouth.
That's right.
So it's important that if God is telling you to say something or to do something, like, you best be listening. But but he reminds her of the promises of God and how it still stood, right? And so sometimes when you aren't obedient, like if he's giving you an instruction and he's telling you, like, whoa, this is how you can get to what I have for you, but I need you to be obedient here. And if you don't do it all the time, and sometimes that very blessing or promise could end up in the hands of somebody else because they were obedient and did what God told them to do.
Yep.
So
I want to add to that. That kind of woke me up. That woke me up because I was disobedient for a while. Yep. I'm not doing this. I'm not showing up. Social media, what? No. What? And now working with women, I deal with kids, not women. And so that's a whole story in itself. And so I was running from it. And the revelation that I got from it is, so you're not going to show up. You're not going to do what I called you to do. And I always say, what a shame it would be if I leave this earth and I meet Jesus and he asked me, did you show up for those women? Did you speak up? Did you use your voice? Did you do what I told you to do? And I said, well, no, God, because I was just so afraid. And I ain't know how to formulate my words, and the people gonna say I'm not qualified and where she come from. So that's why I ain't do it. And Jesus looks at me. So you didn't obey me, and you didn't do what I created you to do because you concerned about what somebody else think. And so that punched me in the gut, and I was like, whether I want to do it or not, the assignment is the assignment, and I don't want to miss out because exactly what you just said. God's word doesn't return back to him void. So if you don't do it, it's still gonna carry out. So he gonna get somebody else to do it. Somebody else is gonna reap it. So I was like, period. I can't, and to know that, imagine getting the vision for your business and your ministry. You have the vision, you already wrote everything down, but then you wake up and say, God, I don't want to do it. You look 5 months later and the very thing is being done. Like, imagine how that would feel. When he gave it to you originally, I said, I don't want to be on those sidelines. I don't want to do it.
Period. Period. And I've had those moments, like literally, I can recall moments that I've sat in my quiet time with the Father, and he has given me like fire stuff, right? But I was like, I'm going to wait, because I'm going to wait till, my numbers grow, or that I know more people going to tune in. Then I'm going to drop that heat. And what happened? Somebody else said it, and I'm like, I said that already. And I'm in my feelings, but it's your fault. Shanika, that was your fault. I gave you the word, but you weren't obedient in doing it.
Yeah.
And so I am so glad, like this book in the Bible, like it was just a testament to that. And she spoke up, like she did what she needed to do. But one key thing that she also did was that she fasted. Like she had Mordecai and the others to do the same. So they were in agreement with what needed to be done. And so they were able to sit with the Father to get what needed to be done so she could speak up, to get the blessing that was promised to her and and to her lineage. So like being able to go among the fear. And that's what I want people to catch. Like, I need you to catch that, like, among the fear, she went back to the source. Who's the source, you ask? It's God. Period. Point blank. It's God. But this was with her sitting with God, being in agreement with others. And then she sat in that same posture to agree. They agreed with her so that God could show her how to carry out what she needed to carry out. So like I said, go back and read the book of Esther. Like, go back and read all 10 chapters, because that thing gonna bless your heart. I promise you. Okay? Okay? But anyway, I know it's time is moving, and this has been a beautiful conversation, and I don't want to keep people long. But before we wrap up, I would love for us to be able to share like some practical ways for overcoming fear and insecurity. And be clear, this is not an all-inclusive list that we have talked to all the people in all the places and come up with this list. But I will say for me, these are some practical ways for me that I have been able to continue the journey of working through overcoming fear and insecurity. And what I've realized is that as God is asking more of me and requiring more of me, new fears are unlocked, right? New fears become unlocked. But in those moments, like, it is just a beautiful thing to be like, God, I ain't got it. I ain't got it. I ain't got it. But you do. So I'm clinging to you in this moment, right?
That part.
Yes, yes. Yes. And so one thing that I would definitely say is just like watching what you say, watching what comes out of your mouth. That's important. And so at this point, at this stage that we're in, like we can no longer afford to say the negative words that were once said about us. Like you have to catch yourself in the act. So when you start thinking about previous things that people have said to you, that's contrary to what God has spoken about you, then you got to call it out. You got to rebuke that thing and you got to tell yourself it's a lie. You really got to say, like, God did not say that about me. And so 2 verses, you spoke on one of them already, Katrina, like that Ephesians 2:10, but we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he has planned for us long ago, right? And then one of my favorites, and I'm sure my niece Maya, she refers to this one often, but it's one that is just so true. Psalms 139:14, where it says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Like, what he says is true. It's not a lie. It's not a lie. So anything pertaining to me that he has said, if I'm not walking in it, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, then ultimately, am I calling God a liar? Is that what that kind of is? Like, and I ain't trying to call him a liar because
I don't want no
I don't
smoke.
know. Like,
Especially Old Testament smoke. Old Testament smoke. I want that smoke.
that Old Testament, oh man, no. So yes, like I can't sit here and say something contrary to what he said. I can't say, oh man, I'm stupid. I messed that up. No, he ain't make me. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Katrina is fearfully and wonderfully made. Whitney is fearfully and wonderfully made. Nisha, Maya, like everybody on this live, everybody that will catch the replay, like get in your word so you can hear the affirming word from the Lord when he calls you his masterpiece, when he says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Like, believe it because it's true. If you believe God, then you're supposed to believe that too. Period.
Exactly.
Period.
That part.
Okay?
That part.
My next one, I got 4, and then I'm out of there. And Katrina, I'm going to let you jump in. My second one, y'all, is a spirit check, right? Is God leading me to say this at this moment? How do I know it's Holy Spirit talking to me? This is a question you may ask. Like, that has really been a thing for me. Like, when it comes to me opening my mouth and saying what God has said, like, what did he really say that to me? Like, am I overthinking it? So that's the importance of sitting with him. And when I say sitting with him, this is like you're getting in your word. You're finding those scriptures to meditate on. You're able to draw from things like Ephesians 2:10 and Psalms 139:14 when you do that. It's you praying. It's you getting in good community that can push you, that can motivate you, that can encourage you, but that can also hold you accountable to refer you back to the word when you start tripping on yourself. Okay. So, like I said, that's what it looks like to be able to sit down with him and then being able to pray to God and be on one accord with what he says about you and how to use your voice and when to sit in silence and when to wait for the right opportunity. All those things matter. That's how you continuously work through that. My number 3, y'all tracking with me? 3, y'all got it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Challenge yourself, like doing the hard thing or the thing that you don't think you were able to do yet or that you don't have the right experience for, all of those things, right? One thing that is very clear, and I think I can speak for Katrina too, but for both me and Katrina, like we understand at this point that there are so many women that need to hear from us that we couldn't hide behind just the posts with words, but we had to actually start opening our mouth and letting the voice that God gave us be amplified when and where it was needed. For me, like, I remember, like, I used to, like, when Facebook really was just getting started, when they had opened it up just to college students, 2004. I'm trying to tell you, that's how long I've been on there. But I remember I used to post the most random foolishness. And now when those memories come up, I'm like, what kind of tomfoolery?
Who did that?
Who did that? Who said that?
Yeah.
You know, it was that. And so it went from that to me being able to post things with meaning, to being able to post things that talked about or glorified God, to me making videos, to me doing IG lives and Facebook lives, whoop, whoop, to me doing the next step that's coming. Stay tuned for that, okay? But just being able to practically do those things, I think are very helpful. And my last one, I would definitely say, is just like practicing and doing it without having all the I's dotted or the T's crossed. And typically, I always get that little phrase backwards. I normally say, cross all your I's and dot all your T's. Yeah. See what I'm talking about? That's me understanding that I'm not perfect, and I'm glad I'm not, right? But I think it's so important to understand, like, as it relates to fear and insecurity, like, this is one of the questions that we have to get the courage to try again. And after experiencing rejection, that was one of the questions I forgot. I'm so sorry. So one of the questions I remember asking on the Facebook story or Instagram story, any questions? And one was like, how do you get the courage to start again after being rejected, right? Excuse me. I think it's important to understand, like, it is not necessarily the rejection that you got to be worried about that you face, but understanding, like, what's your triumph story going to look like as it relates to rejection? Like, what is the thing that you're going to say, like, this is what I did after the rejection? And understanding, like, even though you were rejected at times, or you were rejected in a space that you thought you were supposed to be in, like, you simply just didn't fit in that crowd. And maybe that wasn't the crowd for you. Maybe God had a different crowd for you. Or maybe you are the one that is supposed to go back to minister to that same crowd, so that they can start believing God like you do, so that they can start using their voice for good instead of the negativity or the put down or whatever it is that they've done in the past, right? And so how do you start to get back to having that courage? Is just continuing to do it anyway, blocking out all the negative self-talk from others and the negative self-talk that you even give yourself at times, right? And so I remember for me, like, with opening my mouth and, like, self-talk and reframing my own thoughts, I've had moments where I'm talking myself out of something that God has clearly talked me into. I need to look here.
That part.
Look here, okay? I remember saying, man, I'm not a content creator. I can't do that. Videos, posts, what? I can't do that. But like I reminded you before, like, when I didn't, it was like, well, it was still gonna get done. So are you gonna be the one? Are you gonna do it or not? So again, it went back to me sitting with God, finding the scripture that I could meditate on to get what I needed. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, point blank, period. Okay? So no longer, like, will we give into the self-talk, the imposter syndrome, the insecurities placed on us because of fear that others have, or the fear that they've actually had, the insecurities that they had, or them not having the God confidence, in a sense, to do what they're supposed to be doing. And so they put that off on you, and they don't want you to go further, and they don't want you to go ahead of them, or whatever the case is. Like, we're not doing that anymore. And if we say that God is the source, if we say that he is the one that truly holds it all together, if we proclaim him to be our firm foundation, then we got to believe him. We got to take him at his word, y'all. Period. Like, there is no alternate to that. We got to. So I need everybody to say this with me real quick. You can type it in the chat. You can write it down. You can come back and replay it later. I don't know, but say it. God, I thank you that you are not just reframing my mind, but you're also reframing my posture. Like, understand it. Like, he's not just reframing your mind, but when I say your posture, this is from the way that you see things. This is from the way that you see yourself. This is the way that your heart posture lines up with what he has for you and what he says about you. It's about the actions that you take. All of that stuff matters. And so as you are overcoming this fear and insecurity, what I want you to understand is that God is doing a thing. He's reframing your mind, but he's also going to reframe your posture in the way that you're showing up. So
it's so good.
Well, the Lord been talking to his daughter now, okay? And so my last thing is that understand that what we say and how we show up, it may not always come out 100% correct. Our grammar may not always be on point. I'm a country girl through and through, so I'm gonna throw a little bit of bows out there. I'm gonna throw a little bit of ums and like all of that stuff. The way that my dialect is, that's okay. People connect with people, not robots. Okay? So seeing that others mess up or that you've messed up from time to time, it shows that you are human. It shows that you're not perfect, but it shows that you are willing to do and be obedient to what God is calling you to do. Another reference that I got is Matthew 8:23 through 27, and I'm out of here. Okay, it says, then he got into the boat and his disciples followed him. They're talking about Jesus in case y'all didn't know that part. Okay, all right. So suddenly a furious storm came up on the lake so that the waves swept over the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went in and woke him up saying, Lord, save us. We're going to drown. He replied, you a little faith, why are you so afraid? Then he got up and rebuked the winds and waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, what kind of man is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him. So this was just like a beautiful reminder that if God is sending you somewhere or is he telling you to speak up in a certain situation, then why are you afraid? Have the faith that he's got you at every moment and step. The mountain has to move, the wind and the waves, they have to be calm and obey him. So there's nothing that can hinder you from stepping into all that God has called you to step into. Okay? So that's all I got. My girl, step in. Give me some more.
It's so good. Okay. So I had some similar ones, but let's start with self-reflection. Just being able to identify the fear and the insecurity. You got to be real with yourself. Know when, okay, this made me fearful or this made me insecure. So identify it so that you can deal with it. We don't want to pretend like it's not there. We don't want to pretend like we're a perfect patty, right? Because none of us are perfect. And that's another thing. We have to kill the perfectionist in us, because if we continue to allow that to happen, it's just going to foster more insecurities, okay? Because we're too busy trying to be perfect. And if we don't think we look right or sound perfect or show up like this person, then it's going to keep us stuck. And then you talked about challenging ourselves and also watching our mouth. I always talk about we need to watch our mouth and we need to challenge those negative thoughts. As soon as the negative thought come up, as soon as the fearful thoughts come up, any insecurity in your mind, you go ahead and kill it. Kill it, kill it, kill it, and watch your mouth, like Shanika already mentioned, because, you know, growing up, we heard all the time, there's power in the tongue. And I think as a child, at first I was like, okay, there's power in the tongue. And it wasn't until I became an adult that I really start understanding, wow, my words have power. So if I keep saying, girl, you dumb, or girl, you fat, or what's something else people always say, I'm dead. I'm not saying that no more. I'm not using that skeleton emoji. I'm very much alive. So we have to watch what we say, right? We have to watch the words that come out of our mouths, and just, it's so easy for us to speak the negative instead of the positive. I'm broke. I don't say that anymore. I'm a millionaire. Jesus got my money. He gonna give it to me at that point in time. I'm not saying I'm broke. I just don't have it right now. You know what I'm saying? So we have to change our language. That is going to help fight against the fear and the insecurity. I like that you say get in your word. That's the number one thing. Okay, that's the number one thing. And worship. Worship, worship, worship. The minute I find myself now getting anxious or scared, let me go put on some worship music. You gotta shift the atmosphere, because we can't do it. You have to do it immediately. You cannot allow it to grow like mold and take over. Okay, so you have to be quick with this thing, and then surround yourself with a good community. Like-minded people who are going the same path, or who's already up there and you're trying to get up there too. You can't surround yourself around people that's constantly negative, people who are destiny killers, okay, dream snatchers. Like, you have to surround yourself around a good community that's going to uplift you and build you up. So I would add those things. Yeah,
10 out of 10.
And this is what I want to say, because you highlighted on Ephesians 2:10. That is my scripture. Let me tell y'all. Don't be surprised if it be tattooed on my forehead. But just thinking about the pre-planned and he predestined our life. I just want you guys to know, whenever you start doubting yourself and whenever you think you're not good enough and you can't do it or somebody else is better, exactly what Shanika said. We don't want to call God a liar, okay? Because he already pre-planned your life, right? So we can play with words and we can say that you already were before you became. Now that probably just flew over somebody's head. You already were before you became, meaning before you was even in your mother womb. God already said this thing. He's just waiting for you to get in alignment and to believe what he already see. Okay, that's it.
I hope y'all was picking up what we laid down, because I feel like that was good stuff right there. That was good stuff right there, girl. Like all of it, and the way that it aligns so perfectly together. Like God is so intentional like that, and that self-awareness is huge. That's huge, but that also comes from being able to sit with God to know what it is that you need him to help you work on. Reveal that, like he already know, but he just waiting for you to reveal so he can help you walk through that thing. That was good, girl. That was good. Y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed tonight. I feel full. This was good. This was good. Now, be clear. There is so much more, like I said, there's so much more that we can do and more steps that we can take. I think it's a gradual process of continuing to learn who you are, learning what you need, where you're at in each season, what kind of friends you have in this season, doing this friend inventory. Like that thing is real. It is real, okay? Like do that inventory, because sometimes it may be where you're like,
it's time's up.
It's time's up. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you wish them the worst, but you're walking into a new level, and that requires different, that a different headspace, a different surrounding, wise counsel, all of that. So it matters. So I just want to say thank you so much, Katrina, for your time, for pouring into the people. I just hope that something that we said, resonated with you, that light bulb moment kind of went off for you if it was needed, like that it helped unblock some things that may have been a little cloudy up there that we were trying to walk through or figure out as it relates to like fear and insecurity, and even understanding like where it started from, and even going back to do that work too, right? And so just to recap, we talked about like even the biblical references of walking through the book of Esther and understanding like the fear that she had still did not make her, become stuck, stalled, or stunted. That's like my new favorite thing to say. I don't know. I like God dropped that one on me. And I
like, put that on a t-shirt.
But even that, and finding practical ways of being able to constantly do the work of overcoming fear and insecurity. And like I said in the beginning, not that you necessarily will forever be free from it, because we know that it happens, but that's a perfect opportunity to invite God in and say, God, okay, I need you. I need you. And like you said, Katrina, like whenever you feel like that anxious thoughts rising and the anxiety trying to rise, like go to the place, go to your worship area, like find that song that you need, find that scripture that resonates for you, meditate on it, do what you have to do so you're not staying stuck in that moment, because it's work for us to do. Okay, people, it's work to do. So again, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Thank you, Katrina, for taking the time out to spend with me. I enjoyed it. We'll be back, guys. Like me and her, we're gonna link up again. Like this collab ain't over by far. Okay, know that. But I would love for you guys to make sure that you share your biggest takeaways with us in the comments. We would love to hear from you. If you're not following us, if you're following me, then go follow her. If you're following her, go follow me. All the things, right? Stay connected with us for sure. We're going on a new journey. We're in acceleration year. That's what it is, right? And so I just want to say again, thank you guys so much. I hope that you will join me back here next week as we go into part 2. Yeah, part 2 live of continuing the conversation around overcoming fear and insecurity. Y'all take care. See you next week. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Insecure Faith Meets Joy and Freedom. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. As you know, your support helps us reach more people and spread the message of joy and freedom through faith. Don't forget to follow us on social media for updates, encouragement, and to join our amazing community. And you can do that at Insecure Faith Meets Joy, the letter N, Freedom. And you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Check the show notes for all information. Until next time, read your Bible, mind your business, pray, and obey. Take care.